Hello, welcome to GP Podcast. Today we're going to be exploring a technology that honestly feels like it's been pulled straight from the pages of science fiction. We're talking about a way to preserve our knowledge, not just for centuries, but for billions of years.
You see, we're talking about creating an immortal archive, a truly permanent record of humanity. But to really get why we need one, we have to start by asking a really important question.
What if everything we've ever created, our art, our science, our entire history, what if it could all be stored in a format that could potentially outlast humanity itself? I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a pretty profound thought, especially when you realize that right now our entire digital memory is facing a quiet but very imminent threat.
We are, whether we realize it or not, living in a potential data apocalypse. We think of the digital world as being so permanent, right? But in reality, it's incredibly fragile. The very systems we rely on to store our civilization's information, well, they're quietly breaking down.
A huge part of this problem comes down to something called cold data. A staggering 60 to 80% of all the data in the world falls into this category. Now, this is information that's rarely ever accessed, but it absolutely must be saved forever. We're talking government records, medical archives, financial ledgers. We are literally drowning in it.
And here's the kicker. The technology we use to store it was never designed for this kind of task. In a typical data center, hard drives often fail within just 5 years. Magnetic tape, that lasts a bit longer, but it still degrades. This forces us into this endless, really costly cycle of data migration, just copying everything to new media over and over again, burning massive amounts of energy and money simply to keep our unchanged data alive.
From a sustainability standpoint, our current solution is a disaster. It's just not workable long-term. We're pouring resources into a system that is fundamentally broken. And this has led scientists to look for a better way, a solution that's as ancient as it is futuristic.
So what is this solution? Well, it's surprisingly simple, and it's pretty elegant. Glass. That's right, scientists and engineers are now perfecting a method of writing our data into glass, creating a storage medium that is, for all intents and purposes, eternal.
The technology is called 5D Optical Data Storage. And here's the core idea, which is pretty wild. Incredibly precise, ultra-fast lasers create these microscopic structures, or voxels, deep inside a piece of glass. Data gets encoded in 5 different ways: the 3D position of these tiny dots, plus their orientation and their intensity. It's these 2 extra dimensions that let them pack a massive amount of information into a very, very small space.
Okay, but how long can it possibly last? This is where the idea becomes truly mind-bending. The data written in this glass can remain stable for up to 13.8 billion years. No, that is not a typo. That's roughly the age of the universe itself.
Now, you know this technology didn't just appear overnight. It's been in development for over a decade at the University of Southampton, with the first successful recording way back in 2013. Then, in 2018, it was even sent to space on a SpaceX rocket to test its durability. And now, a startup called Sphonics has been formed to finally bring it to the world, and that's sparking a race to redefine the future of data.
This brings us to a really fascinating dynamic. We have a tale of 2 labs, an agile new startup and a massive tech giant, both racing to solve the exact same problem, but from very different angles. So on one side, you've got the startup, Sphonics. They're moving fast, they're aggressive, and they're aiming to license their hardware to existing data centers within just 2 years. On the other side, you've got Microsoft's Project Silica. Now, they've invested hundreds of millions to build a complete native cloud service from the ground up for their Azure platform. Sphonics is all about speed to market. Microsoft is focused on perfecting the entire system.
And Microsoft has already had some incredible successes. To prove this was way more than just a lab experiment, they partnered up with Warner Bros. And stored the entire 1978 movie Superman on a small plate of quartz glass. And then, this is the important part, they retrieved it perfectly, with 0 data loss. It was a massive demonstration of this technology's real-world potential.
But Microsoft's vision goes even further. They're designing these robotic libraries where the glass plates just sit on shelves requiring no power and no cooling. When data is needed, a robot just goes and retrieves the plate. The rest of the time, the archive consumes almost no energy. And because the data is physically stored with no electronics, it's inherently air-gapped, making it completely immune to things like ransomware and cyber attacks. So, with all this incredible potential, what will glass storage actually be used for? I think it's really important to understand that this technology, well, it isn't designed to replace the hard drive in your computer anytime soon.
It all comes down to a really fundamental trade-off: speed versus permanence. Writing data into glass by physically forming nanostructures with lasers is, a very precise process. It can't be rushed, so it will never be as fast as an SSD. Glass storage intentionally sacrifices speed for near-infinite durability.
So, let's be super clear. This is not for your phone or your laptop. This technology is designed to replace the most invisible but absolutely critical layer of our digital infrastructure, those massive tape archives. It's the ultimate solution for that cold data we were talking about earlier. This is a write once, store forever archive for humanity's most important information.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most profound question of all. For the first time in history, we may have a realistic way to store information longer than civilizations last. So if we can store anything forever, what should we choose to remember? What parts of our culture, our knowledge, and our story are truly worthy of immortality?
It's a fascinating thought to end on. What do you think? If you liked the video, subscribe, leave a like, comment on what you liked most, and share the video. Thanks for watching.